Mariano Rajoy Brey is the Prime Minister of Spain, elected on November 20, 2011. He has been leader of the People's Party since 2004. Under Prime Minister José María, Rajoy was Minister of Public Administration from 1996 to 1999 and Minister of Education from 1999 to 2000. He then served as Deputy Prime Minister from 2000 to 2003. Rajoy led the People's Party into the March 2004 general election, an election won by the opposition Spanish Socialist Workers Party in the aftermath of the 2004 Madrid train bombings. Subsequently, Rajoy was leader of the opposition from 2004 to 2011. Early life and education: born March 27, 1955 in Santiago de Compostela, a Coruña ± Galicia, Rajoy is the grandson of Enrique Rajoy Lelup, one of the architects of the Statute of Autonomy of Galicia in 1932, who was removed from university teaching by the dictatorship in the early 1950s. He is the son of Mariano Rajoy Brey, a jurist, and president of the Provincial Court of Pontevedra, the city where he grew up. Later on, his father was transferred to Lecubden and the whole family moved there. He was duly enrolled, together with his brothers Luis and Enrique, and spent 10 years there before moving to the Jesuit school in Vigo. After finishing secondary school he started university, enrolling in the law faculty in Santiago de Compostela. Rajoy graduated from the University of Santiago de Compostela and passed the competitive examination required in Spain to enter into the civil service, becoming the youngest ever property registrar at age 23. He was assigned to Attribution, Villafranca del Bierzo and Santa Pola, a position he still holds. In that year, Rajoy was injured in the face following a traffic accident. Since then, he has always had a beard to hide the scars of these injuries. Rajoy married Elvira Ğvրei Fernández Balboa on December 28, 1996, in La Toja Island. The couple have 2 children. While on the campaign trail in 2011, Rajoy published his autobiography, En Confianza. Legislative career: early political career: Rajoy started his political career in 1981, as a member of the right-wing party People's Alliance, becoming a deputy in the inaugural legislature of the Galician Parliament. In 1982, he was appointed by Galician Regional President, Xarado Fernández Alba, as Minister of Institutional Relations of the Xunta de Galicia. On June 11, 1986, Rajoy was elected President of the Provincial Council of Pontevedra, a position he held until July 1991. In the general elections of June 22, 1986, he obtained a seat in the Congress of Deputies as the head of the AP's list for Pontevedra, although he resigned in November to take up the post of Vice President of the Xunta of Galicia following the resignation of José Luis Barreiro and the rest of the ministers. He occupied this latter position until the end of September 1987. In May 1988 he was elected General Secretary of the PA in Galicia during an extraordinary Congress of the Regional Party. When in 1989 the AP merged with other parties to form the People's Party, with Manuel Fraga as its president, Rajoy was named a member of its National Executive Committee and delegate for Pontevedra. He was re-elected to Parliament in 1993. Before the PP's triumph in the 1996 elections, he was a PP-designated member of the Commission of Parliamentary Control of the RTVE. In April, the former President of Castile and Lecubden and presidential candidate of the government general elections in 1989, José María, was elected President of the PP. Confirmed in the National Executive, Mariano Rajoy was appointed Deputy Secretary General of the party. He was re-elected in Pontevedra in the election on June 6, 1993. Ministerial debut: on March 3, 1996, the PP won the early parliamentary elections and Mariano Rajoy, who had been elected an MP, was appointed Minister of Public Administration on May 6 in the first Aznar government. His term was marked by the adoption, in 1997, of the Law on Organization and Operation of the General Administration of the State, which regulates the organization and functions of central government, and the Law on Government. he changed his portfolio on January 20, 1999 and replaced Esperanza Aguirre as Minister of Education and Culture. Just after his appointment, he was re-elected Vice Secretary General of the PP during its 13th National Conference. In 2000 he led the People's Party election campaign for the elections on March 12, winning an absolute majority of seats. On April 28, 2000, Rajoy was appointed Senior Vice President of Government and Minister of the Presidency. Less than a year later, on February 28, 2001, he replaced Jaime María, candidate for President of the Government of the Basque Country, as Interior Minister. In this role, he passed legislation including the Organic Law on the Right of Association, approved the decree implementing the Organic Law on the Rights and Duties of Foreigners, and presented the draft law on the prevention of alcoholism. In the major cabinet reshuffle of July 9, 2002, he became Minister of the Presidency, retained his vice presidency and was appointed spokesman of the government. In his new role, he faced two very difficult times of Azar's second term, the Prestige oil tanker disaster off the coast of Galicia, and the participation of Spain in the Iraq War, at the request of George W. Bush. Approached, with Rodrigo Rato and Jaime María, to succeed José copyright María Aznar at the direction of the PP and as presidential candidate of the government in the 2004 general elections, he was chosen as future PP leader on September 1, 2003 and left the government 2 days later. Minister of the Interior, 1996–2004. A longtime associate of José copyright María Aznar, Rajoy made the move into national politics when Aznar became Prime Minister in 1996 with the support of Basque Nationalist Party, Convergence and Union and the Canarian Coalition, serving as Minister of Public Administration and Minister of Education and Culture in the first Aznar administration. He managed the successful People's Party campaign in the 2000 elections. A grateful Aznar appointed him Deputy Prime Minister of the Spanish government. In February 2001 he was named Minister of the Interior, after Jaime María decided to run as head of the People's Party list in the 2001 Basque elections. Leader of the People's Party, on August 30, 2003, Aznar announced that he would retire from politics in the 2004 elections and proposed Rajoy as his successor. After the 14th Congress of the People's Party in October 2004, Rajoy became the new chairman of the party, by then in the opposition, having lost the elections to the PSOE. Leader of the opposition, 2004–2011, on March 11, 2004, 3 days before the 2004 general elections were to take place, Madrid was struck by terrorist attacks, which the government initially blamed on the armed Basque separatist organization, ETA. Azar's government and government party leaders insisted on accusing ETA of the attacks, and on March 13, Rajoy claimed to believe this because he was convinced of their will and capability for committing such crimes. The government was accused of attempting to blame the ETA for the attacks in order to stay on track to win the elections, but then news by the centre-left media empire Prisa broke that it was Qaeda, rather than the ETA. On March 14, 2004 the PSOE, under the leadership of José copyright Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, won the elections with a majority of 1,300,000 votes over the PP, and obtained 164 deputies, while the PP obtained 9,763,144 votes but 148 deputies, 35 less than they obtained in 2000. Rajoy was elected for the province of Madrid. On December 1, 2005, Rajoy survived a helicopter accident, along with Madrid Regional Government President Esperanza Aguirre. He broke a finger in the accident. Rajoy faced a serious situation within his party after receiving public pressure from the electorally successful Alberto Ruiz Gallardón to be included in the PPA lists for the March 2008 general election. Gallardón represents a more centrist sector within the party, whereas Rajoy, Angel Esps and Eduardo Zoplana are widely accepted as representing a more conservative wing of the party, closer to Aznar. Rajoy's final decision was to leave Gallardón out of the list for those elections, an action which provoked concern about the alienation of potential PP voters. Some experts and newspapers even argued that it could cost Rajoy the elections. In any case, the power struggle for succession created a tense situation for him and for the party. On January 30, 2008, Rajoy received the support of Germany's Angela Merkel and France's Nicolas Sarkozy for the March 2008 general election. The PP was defeated in the general election, however, and Rajoy continued to lead his party in opposition. His criticisms of the Zapatero administration were focused on what he perceived as the derogation of ambitious plans of the previous executive, the Plan Hidrológico Nacional National Hydrological Plan, the LOCE Organic Law on the Quality of Education, the alleged unnecessary statutory reforms which devolved competences to the autonomous communities, such as submitted in the Catalan and Andalusian referendums with low turnouts. According to Rajoy, some of those reforms constituted concealed changes of the autonomous communities towards a confederation, endangering the integrity of the state. He stated that if Zapatero wanted to apply his view of Spain, it would be better if he proposed a reform of the Spanish constitution, a reform that would need approval in a national referendum. The alleged weakness facing the peace process opened as a result of a permanent ceasefire declared by ETA on December 30, 2006, broken by the Madrid Barajas International Airport bombing and arms robbery, the legalization of abortion until 14 weeks of pregnancy, a law that Mariano Rajoy considered criminal, and against the will of large sectors of the Spanish society. In foreign policy, the alleged cold relations with United States and Poland. The alliances with South American left-wing leaders, Hugo Chávez, from Venezuela, Fidel Castro, from Cuba and Evo Morales, from Bolivia. Election campaign. The campaign was dominated by economic issues. Election campaign begins, crushed by the economic situation, was the headline in El País on September 2, 2011. The same day, El Mundo claimed that the unemployment election campaign had begun. The high rate of unemployment was a major issue in the campaign. Close to 5 million people were out of work at the time of the election, and 1.5 million households had no wage earners. Rajoy slammed Spain's unemployment rate as unbearable and unacceptable as data showed 4,350 people per day losing their jobs in October 2011. The socialists, he said, did not know how to manage Spain's economy, and now the Spanish people are paying the price for that. He promised he would shepherd Spain out of its crisis and recover the shaky confidence of international investors and reduce the government's ominously high borrowing costs. The debt crisis in Greece had raised concerns over the solvency of other weak economies, like Spain, so the PPA campaign's slogan calls on voters to join the change. And the party manifesto stressed its commitment to cutting the country's budget deficit in line with EU requirements. It proposed tax breaks for savers and small firms who hired staff. Benefits for those who took on young employees. More flexible labor contracts and wage negotiations and major cuts in red tape, to encourage entrepreneurs to set up in business. At the same time, it pledged to protect public health care and education, saving money through efficiency and better management. Premiership. In November 2011, Rajoy, a unregistered trademark S right-wing People's Party won its biggest majority since the counter unregistered trademark S returned to representative democracy in the 1970s, securing 186 out of the 350 seats in the lower house of parliament. Voters turned to him in hopes of alleviating the pain of European unregistered trademark S debt crisis. Following the general election held in 2011, Rajoy was elected Prime Minister by the Congress of Deputies on December 21, 2011. Inauguration. Mariano Rajoy, designated candidate for Prime Minister of the government of King Juan Carlos I, appeared before the Congress of Deputies on December 19, 2011. He stated that to achieve the objective of a deficit of 4.4% of GDP in 2012, an investment of €16.5 billion would be needed. He added that his only increased public spending would be the revaluation of pensions, beginning January 1, 2012, and that he would not create any new jobs in the public sector, except for security forces. He stated an intention to reduce the size of the public sector, and also wanted to reform public holidays so as to avoid encouragement of popular four-day weekends. This would be accomplished by incorporating the use of the nearest Monday for most public holidays. He also announced his desire to end the practice of early retirement. Rajoy was chosen by Parliament 2 days later with 187 votes in favour, 149 votes against and 14 abstentions, receiving the support of the People's Party, Forum of Asturias and Navarra's People's Union, with Spanish Socialist Workers Party, Convergence and Union, the United Left and Union, Progress and Democracy dissenting. The Basque Nationalist Party, the Coalition Amaya and the Canary Coalition abstained. He was appointed a few hours later as Prime Minister by Juan Carlos and sworn in the next day at the Zarzuela Palace, before the King and Queen, Sir Portero, the outgoing Prime Minister, and the Presidents of the Cortes Generales, and others. Government formation. Rajoy's government was formed on December 21, 2011 with 13 ministers, the lowest number in Spanish democratic history. Soraya Sáenz de Santa María, Vice President of the Government, Minister of the Presidency, the government spokesman, and Ana Pastor Julia N., Minister of Equipment were appointed. The Ministries of Culture, Science, and Territorial Policy were ended, and the Ministry of Economy and Finance was split into two new ministries. The Ministry of Agriculture and Environment was kept intact, despite statements made by Rajoy's speech before Congress that indicated the opposite intention. Among the ministers, Cristobal Montoro Romero, Minister of Finance, and Miguel Arias Corplas or Minocete, Minister of Agriculture, Food and Environment, had been members of the previous Aznar government and continued to occupy the same posts. First Cuts Plan. On December 30, 2011, the Council of Ministers approved a cuts plan amounting to €8.9 billion in savings and €6.2 billion in new revenues. Salaries of public workers were frozen, the workweek in public administration was reduced to 37.5 hours, and recruitment of new public employees was halted, except in the areas of security, health and education. A program that provided rent assistance for young people was ended, and the minimum wage was frozen, something that had not happened since 1966. The income tax and tax on real estate was also increased for 2012 and 2013. Pensions were adjusted up 1%, however, and the tax deduction for the purchase of homes was reinstated. The premium of €400 for the long-term unemployed at the end of law was maintained, but only for those registered as job seekers with the Public Employment Service for at least 12 months out of the previous 18 and whose income amounts were less than three-quarters of the net minimum wage. A 4% value-added tax was expanded to include new home purchases. Lawsuit. On January 4, 2013, the Association Democracia Realia, created after the 15 May 2011 protest movement, brought charges against Mariano Rajoy and another 62 deputies before the Supreme Court, accusing them of diversion of public funds and misappropriation. Mariano Rajoy was accused of receiving a subsistence allowance despite the fact that he was living in the Moncloa Palace in Madrid. The lawsuit before the Supreme Court was a consequence of the data which had appeared in the media providing information about several deputies that had houses in Madrid but at the same time were receiving extra funds for lodging. According to the Association ʻVɾei, these representatives, who could be lodged at no cost to the public purse, were paid a monthly subsistence allowance valued at €1,823.36. Furthermore, if they had been elected by the constituency of Madrid and had a house in this city, they were allowed €870 per month to cover accommodation and food expenses resulting from the exercise of their functions that, with respect to Rajoy, were already covered €1 from the state budget €1 in the Moncloa Palace. Therefore, according to the complaint, the Association ʻVɾei accused them of diversion of public funds and misappropriation. Additionally, ʻVɾei required them to return all the money that didn't belong to them, particularly bearing in mind that the cuts are making most Spaniards' life a misery. On April 24, 2013, having found no irregularity in the existing regulation and discarding the existence of constituent elements of offence, the Supreme Court rejected the lawsuit. Rajoy and the Barra Cenas affair. According to the newspaper El País, in a series of documents published in its January 30, 2013 edition, under the title of ʻVɾei's Secret Papers, referring to the accounting of the Conservative Party from 1999 to 2009, Mariano Rajoy and María Dolores de Cospedal had received extra payments in black money from the former treasurer of the People's Party, Luis Bárcenas. According to these documents, both Bárcenas and ʻVɾei are allowed to manage donations from businessmen and private builders, cited as sources of income of the PP as regards expenditure. Apart from the allocations for the effective functioning of the party, payments were made to members of the leadership of the party during those years appear, without specifying the concept. Accounting by Bárcenas shows yearly payments of €25,200 for 11 years to the president, in addition to smaller amounts estimated at €33,207 for concepts such as Mariano's suits, Mariano's ties, or MR's suits. PP Secretary-General María Dolores de Cospedal also appears in the papers of these payments, as well as other leaders, such as former ministers Javier Arenas, Jaime María and Francisco ʻVṟez Cascos. By February 7, just 1 week after publication of the documents, 1 million people had signed a petition launched by the organization Change.org asking for the immediate resignation of Mariano Rajoy. On July 8, the newspaper El Mundo published a 4-hour interview with Luis Bárcenas, which had taken place a few days before he was put behind bars on June 27, in which the former party treasurer revealed that the People's Party had been illegally financed for 20 years. The following day, the same newspaper published the originals of Bárcenas' papers which reflected overpayments to Mariano Rajoy in 1997, 1998 and 1999, when he was a minister in the Aznar cabinet. These payments violated the Incompatibilities Act of 1995. On July 14, El Mundo published several text messages between Rajoy and Bárcenas, the latest dating from early 2013, after the discovery of Bárcenas' bank accounts in Switzerland and after some media had pointed to illegal payments within the PP in those messages. Rajoy gave his support to Bárcenas and asked him to do nothing. In light of these new revelations, High Court Judge Pablo Ruiz summoned Bárcenas to appear before him on July 15. In this new appearance, Bárcenas admitted the payment of €50,000 in 2010 to Rajoy and Dolores de Cospedal. As a result of the scandal, all the opposition parties urged Rajoy to give an explanation to Parliament, with the opposition Spanish Socialist Workers Party threatening him with a censure motion should he refuse to come out and explain himself, and demanding his immediate resignation. In his appearance before Congress, on August 1, Rajoy admitted that he had made a mistake in trusting Bárcenas and criticized the opposition for trying to criminalize him by believing the word of an offender, stating that he wasn't resigning nor calling new elections. Rajoy also stated that Bárcenas was no longer a member of the PP when he, Rajoy, was appointed Prime Minister. However, in August 11, El Mundo published a sheet, dated May 2012, issued by the PP for the ex-treasurer, as well as a letter sent by Bárcenas himself to Rajoy in April 2010 informing Rajoy of his reincorporation in the party. Scottish independence debate. Scotland is due to hold a referendum on independence from the UK on September 18, 2014. In November 2013 Mariano Rajoy stated that an independent Scotland would have to reapply for membership of the European Union, causing considerable irritation to the Scottish government and criticism that Rajoy was interfering in the internal affairs of another state. Relations between the Spanish and Scottish governments deteriorated further when the Scottish government alleged that Rajoy invited a senior UK official to visit Madrid ostensibly to coordinate British and Spanish opposition to the independence movements in Scotland and Catalonia. Political views. Mariano Rajoy is known to be a bullfighting supporter who says the tradition is an art form deeply rooted in Spanish history. Thus the 6-year ban on live bullfights being broadcast on state-run TV has been lifted and live bullfights are once again shown in the traditional 6 p.m. slot on TVE. Awards and honors. Gold Medal of the Spanish Council of the Professional Cycling. Sash of Special Category of the Order of the Aztec Eagle by the Mexican President Felipe Caldera Cubden Hinojosa. Honorary Doctorate in Law by the Sergio Arboleda University in Bogotá, Colombia. Knight Grand Cross of the Order of Charles III. Genealogy, references. Mariano Rajoy Génie Promets Orcun Miracle. Euroniza, el CISI ya en 10 puntos la ventaja del PP sobre Zapatero. Publico un galego pragmático al frente educación Cubden. El País. January 19, 1999. El Congreso del PP eligió la lista de 30 nombres dictada por Aznar Cubden Empresa Work equals El País. January 30, 1999. Rajoy, no habla mucho y a veces se puede equivocar. El Mundo. October 29, 2007. Rajoy, reelegido president del PPP no tiene el apoyo del 21% de los compromisarios. El Mundo. June 21, 2008. Manuel M. Cascanti / enviado especial a Bogotá. Mariano Rajoy sostiene que su gobierno ya ha planificado todas las reformas hasta el verano. ABC is, a Mariano Rajoy confirma que creará un Ministerio de Agricultura, dans el DAR, 19 DAR Copyright Sembre 2011, text into copyright GRAL, archive, Mariano Rajoy. La Vanguardia is, Carlos Ghosé copyright, un gobierno de amigos y felices, dans el país política, 22 DAR Copyright Sembre 2011, text into copyright GRAL, archive, Mariano Rajoy Intraeconomia.com a Amarilla Escar 1/4 a Rajoy incumples su palabra y sub los impuestos dans publico, 30 DAR Copyright Sembre 2011, text into copyright GRAL, archive, Montoro rechaza los planes de ajuste Cataluña plus or minus ay Andaluca a. El País, noticias sobre la reforma laboral. El País, carrera presentada por la Asociación Cubden Dry. Publico, external links. Profile page, extensive biography by CIDOB, Bol Genealogía de Mariano Rajoy.